Hello, everybody. Happy New Year, and welcome to Season 2 of the Check Engine Podcast, the only podcast produced by 3 winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. We're back. I'm so excited for this. My name is Nick, and with me, as per usual, they survived the off-season. Tristan behind the controls, and Andrew seated to my left. Guys, we're here. We did it. Season 2. Let's get at it.
Finally, I'm so ready.
I mean, he says survived the off season. It was Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving.
I got sick a time and a half.
I've literally just spent the last week home from work.
It's true. Nick is reporting from a bubble.
I only wish he was reporting from a bubble.
Yeah, don't you guys wish? I've survived the plague twice.
Great.
It's true. He got actually sick.
I got 7 lives left, baby. As you can tell, we're not pros. This isn't something we do for a living. We don't work for any car publications. We don't work for car companies. We don't work for race teams. We're just car fans of the automobile, fans of motorsport, and we love to sit around and talk about it. We talk about it at races, in garages, at bars, in living rooms, and of course here on this podcast. And through Anchor.fm is where you can hear us. Anchor.fm/Check Engine Podcast, or anywhere else podcasts are streamed. But we don't want to just talk at you. We want to talk with you. So you can start, if you feel like talking back at us, by going to checkenginepodcast.com. We have our own website, and that will get you linked up to anywhere you want to reach out to us. Guys, how are we kicking off Season 2?
Well, I thought maybe we could jump right into a topic, but so much happened while we were off. It's like every company waited until the end of the year to do all of their horrible shit because they knew
that we couldn't report on it right away.
Exactly. They knew. Basically the day after, it felt like, we did our last episode, GM snuck out there like, we're going to kill all the cars. They just put it right out there real quick.
Yep.
And they thought that we weren't going to talk about it, but we are, and we're going to talk about all the other crap that you guys have been up to while we're off.
Wrong.
There's a bunch of...
Just because mom and dad weren't home doesn't mean you don't get in trouble.
That's right.
All of the shit happened from mid-November to early January. It was crazy.
I don't know what was going on.
I've got 4
major... End of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
I've got 4 major stories that I took notes on. I'm sure there's more than that we can talk about, because none of what I wrote down actually includes Tesla or Elon Musk, so I'm sure that little pissant did something.
He did a big one that didn't get reported on until recently, and it was just at the end of December. It's maybe the most insane thing he's done yet. I can't wait to get to it.
This is gonna be a good episode. Just kind of what happened while we were away. So we might want to start in lieu of as our pace laps for this episode. Just kind of, what did you guys do on your break?
What'd you do? Start with you. Yeah.
What did I do?
Throw it back like that.
Yeah. All right, fine. What did I do? I got I had a great holiday. This was the first holiday season with my girlfriend. So
that's right.
She was, holiday with her family. And then she was a real trooper because in 2 days and 3 nights, we had my dad's side of the family, my mom's side of the family, grade school kids and parents did like a post-Christmas Eve midnight mass party until 2 or 3 a.m. on Christmas morning.
Midnight mass party?
Yeah, after.
Okay.
Midnight mass after party.
Midnight mass after party. And then there was some buddies of mine from high school that came into town. I haven't seen them maybe but once in the last year or year and a half. So I think, without exaggerating, in 3.5 days, she met 50 new people.
That's impressive.
And I woke up on the 26th and she was still there. So she made it. So there was that. I did get another round of the plague.
Yep.
Actually had the doctor shut me down from all work activity.
We were supposed to record last week, but the doctor was like, nah, he's got to stay away from people.
He's got to stay. He's got to be pretty much isolated. But we're
containment protocol.
It was kind of funny.
We're getting over that now. We spent a week, and over that week, because I've just been around the house, essentially being bored, like in between bouts of naps. I've gotten really good at the livery editor on Gran Turismo Sport.
Wow.
So I've, got the creative juices flowing and started making some pretty dope liveries on the Gran Turismo game.
Nice.
So that was my break. Who's next?
During my break, I also engaged in the multiple family holidays, and drove a lot, because I began commuting a real long way.
Oh, that's right.
So sadly, very little fun driving involved in that commute, but you make the best of it.
I think you've done holidays where you've driven more than this last one.
Yes.
Just to get to the holiday.
Yes.
Because didn't you once do a here, Virginia, Georgia, Virginia back once? Something like that?
I don't believe that was a holiday. That was just maybe returning people from the holiday.
That's
Something
probably
like that.
what it was.
Yeah.
That's probably
But
it.
no, it was a lot of driving, not for the holidays, just over, what do we do on break was a lot of driving.
Yeah, but if you're driving a Subaru, it's never really boring driving.
Well,
And you've
certainly mine.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We got this far and you didn't tell the listeners the most important thing you did this break?
What is it?
Completely turned to the dark side and listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have some very important news. Tristan has gone to the dark side, and we shall never see him return, for he hath gotten a tune for his WRX.
As is only proper. Especially the,
And
stage 0.5.
the rally armors.
Yeah.
Next stop, exhaust.
Certainly not anytime soon.
You said that about the tune.
No.
This is what happens.
This is what happens. It slowly gets you.
You want one for your car.
Listen,
Pretty soon he's going to show up with car tattoos.
He already
and a flat brim hat.
So what did your wife get you for Christmas?
nothing.
Car tattoos. Your wife got you car tattoos for
She
Christmas.
got me an Instant Pot. I am a
laying it-
married man.
He's naming the things that are not the car tattoos he received for Christmas. He received many car tattoos. He already has the Hyundai equivalent of rally armors with those mud flaps.
Let's
that you
not get
put
bogged
on.
down in
And he's
who
looking for a tune.
Put what
So-
on their car over praise.
So suddenly he doesn't want to talk about what got put on cars over. Okay, I get it. No, but it makes the car just infinitely more drivable. It's way better. I don't even care power-wise. That's not what I was looking for, but man, it makes it way nicer to drive.
That is big news, though.
Yeah.
What did I do? My family came. I have two brothers who live out of state, so every other year they come and bring their entire families with them, and that was actually really fun. Seeing everyone all together, and it's that whole thing, big Christmas dinner and the kids' table, like all that classic stuff.
Did they let you out of the kids' table yet?
I actually have graduated to the kitchen, so I don't have to talk.
Graduated to the kitchen.
Yeah,
Nice.
So
Well done.
So I still don't talk to the adults, but
You also don't have
But
to
you're
talk
also
to the
being
children.
productive at the same time.
and afterwards, everyone thinks that you did so much. But it's like ham. So you make like sweet potatoes, make some. Maybe I'm giving too much away here,
Yeah,
but
you're ruining it.
yeah, I mean, I did so.
We have to
much.
wait almost another year for this. Calm down. You're getting me hungry.
You can have ham and sweet potatoes whenever you want, man. You're an adult.
It's an anytime food.
Yeah.
But no, it was really good. I love those Christmases when everyone comes here, and because it's like like when I was younger, and they still my brother still lived at home, having the big Christmas Eve thing, and then Christmas Day opening gifts. It's all good stuff.
Awesome. And then also, for all three of us, we got new microphones.
As you
That
can
we
probably
did.
tell by listening to us, I hope.
Yeah. So go back and listen to our debut episode.
Our first episode, one of the ones almost at the tail end of season 1, and then this one. They're
Yeah.
all going to be very different.
That's the hope. That is definitely the hope.
This is why we have Patreon pages, so we can produce better shows
That's
for
right.
people.
You're seeing the results here, and also it's why we had, some of you may have noticed, an extremely long ad before our last episode of the season. I got this mic, and to do a test for everyone, I just recorded an extremely long ad for Anchor. We have reformatted. There's a nice tight ad thanks to Flipboard. Shout out to them. And yeah, but
Oh yeah, and we also got sponsored.
we got sponsored too.
So thanks to Flipboard, we should probably mention them.
That's right.
So yeah, that was our break. Let us know what you did over the holiday season. Reach out to us through checkenginepodcast.com. We got a lot of stuff to cover. We were also all like texting and communicating with one another like, should we just go back and record an episode? Because there was so much shit happening.
So much stuff.
There's so much stuff. We got to get into it. We're already probably short on time with all the stuff that's going on. What do we want to talk about first?
I mean, it's got to be GM, right? Literally, it felt like the day after we went off air, they dared. Mary, you dared to... What are you doing right now? Sorry, Tristan's being incredibly distracting. But Mary Vera...
Is he Instagram living or something?
No,
What are you doing?
no, I'm just trying to take a picture.
Trying to take a
picture.
Trying to take a selfie.
Well, wait, are we going to do it while we're recording? Okay.
Yeah.
This
We're
sounds good.
professional.
We're professional. So, Andrew, what was going on with GM? Why don't you
Anyway,
set us
so
up?
the day after we went off air, it felt like Mary Barra announced that GM is killing... I don't think it's all their cars. I don't think it's every single car they produce.
I've got a list.
Do you?
I've got a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I can list of 6 cars, but I think it's not just like a Ford thing where it's like, hey, we're just going to kill all cars. This was more cost saving as far as shutting down plants, laying off people, and as a result of that, these are the cars that are going to cease
Right, because
production.
they're all platform shared.
Yes.
That's kind of the nugget here.
Yeah, that's different from how Ford went about it, where we're just not going to make cars anymore. This is, we need to shut down to save on operating costs, blah blah blah. Business boilerplate, blah blah blah. We need to shut down these 3 plants. As a result, there's going to be cars that we're not going to produce anymore. Really, the only one that I'm kind of disappointed. There's only one out of the 6 that I'm kind of disappointed that they're not making it anymore.
What's that?
The Volt.
Oh yes, right. So the list is the Cruise and the Volt, platform shared. Then the Impala, Buick LaCrosse, and the CT6.
Cadillac CT6 and XTS, and then the Sonic, which I don't give a shit.
The Sonic. Whatever.
So yeah, but it's because they're halting production at 3 plants. The one in Lordstown, Ohio. The one in, this is a weird name. Try this one. Hamtramck, Michigan.
Hey, you wanted that for dinner just before.
Yeah,
didn't you?
Hamtramck. And then Oshawa in Canada. We actually stayed in Oshawa.
That's right, we did. Oshawa.
The town of Oshawa, and we went up to see the IMSA race up there. But the plant up there is closing. So those 3 plants are closing down. And they actually said in their announcement, or this might be one of the updates that I got from CNBC, the tariff cost on imported steel has, since the tariff went into effect, so that wasn't that long ago.
Oh, and by the way, remember, imported also includes Canada.
Right.
Yep.
Cost General Motors $1 billion.
Damn, son. Oh, also, a note related to that somewhat, but also back to the cars. GM isn't killing the Sonic. They're just they don't even produce it here, so they're just stopping selling it. I think they produce it in South America.
Yeah.
Or
Believe
perhaps
so.
somewhere in the Middle East. But they sell that car worldwide as the Aveo.
Yes, this is significantly cutting car production in North America specifically. Right. And, you know, they also cited the sales trends. So I've got it here through September of last year. Cars, sedans, what you think of as a everyday car sale is down 13.2% year over year, where truck and SUV sales are up 8.3%.
Ooh, I have final figures on that,
Final
actually.
figures.
I have final figures.
Update
year
me.
over year, the loss to the sedan segment was around 6%, and the gain in the truck segment was 15%.
Okay, so they see it as they're more than making up their losses in the cars through...
Sort of, yeah. They are more... It's such a weird number, because you'd think they'd match a little more closely, but they really don't. Like, the loss in cars hasn't been that bad, I guess.
Yeah, it hasn't been as bad as the increase in trucks.
Right.
Has been good.
Right. Yeah. Well, but I think you said it when we did the emergency brake for Ford back in, which seems like forever ago now.
Which Ford, we'll get to you later.
Yeah, we'll get to you later. You know, Ford had mentioned how cars had become commoditized. And you had come right out and said, like, the definition of a commodity is something that sells all the time.
Bread.
Like, that sells consistently. Like, so why would you not want to make that anymore?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we saw what happened with Ford. It seems like Chevrolet, at least in the way General Motors, in the way they announced it, it's a little bit more it's a little bit different of an approach, or the reasoning behind it's a little bit different.
Yeah,
So
it's paring it down as a cost saving measure. It's not like, oh, we only see this segment as being profitable. We're going to entirely invest in a higher margins, higher profit
right.
thing like that. It seems less greedy.
And GM's not slamming the door on cars either. But on that greed topic, I was especially hard on Ford specifically because I said this is a purely profit-driven decision. Doesn't take the consumer into effect. While we must say all those same things about GM, in my mind, maybe this is just dumb. The reason why I don't think I'm going to get after GM as hard as I got after Ford is because Ford leaned on the cars that they made pre and post bailout. The cars initially were the reason why they didn't really need a bailout back in, was that 07, 08, something like that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Dates escape me. But GM did need it. And, there's a multitude of other factors. More simplistic. My simplistic view of the situation is that Ford survived that because they made cars that were good. They then lent on those cars super heavily after the bailout to dig themselves out of the hole. And then instead of pursuing the super active design cycle that was pushed by people like Hyundai and Kia and Toyota, who redesigned their cars and I mean across the line about every 18 months.
Yeah,
they just said, no, Ford didn't want to do that, and they just stopped.
And I get not redesigning every 18 months either, because then someone who bought your car 2 years ago, they know their car looks dated.
Right.
So, but still, a happy medium somewhere, the cars ever getting updated would have been preferable to Ford letting them be exactly the same since the bailout, more or less.
And they just languished. They did cosmetic updates and say, yeah, we changed the platform. That didn't matter to me, and it didn't matter to the consumers. They looked the same.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll see what's going to happen with General Motors. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they, found ways to produce these cars somewhere else, whether it be an overseas facility or something like that. We'll see what happens. It's not like Tristan said. It doesn't seem as greedy as when Ford did it.
Because I think it's just not as wholesale.
Yeah.
Yeah, they dialed back cars, but they weren't just like, nope, axe. Just get and just cut them all down.
It is interesting because this was like they made the announcement right before the CEO went for like the annual meetings with the United Auto Workers, with the union.
Yeah. Well, they've been catching huge heat from this. I think.
Wasn't Mary
Barra called in to talk with senators and congressional reps because of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're not a political podcast, but I think there's more politics to that than actual economic policy.
And yet, this will be the most cutting remarks made about her, I feel.
Yes.
We have that kind of impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, not a political podcast, but I think that was more of, why aren't you supporting the message of we're going to create a bunch of jobs, and it didn't happen.
So there's that.
I think that's less about actual economic impact than why is the banner falling down over there?
Why aren't you supporting our message of creating all these jobs? Why are you making it so expensive for us to operate?
Yeah.
Right. Don't you bring that into this?
Yeah. That's not important.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So this may not actually entirely be GM's fault, but this might be more of Ford was very proactive on this. Like, we're gonna do this. GM, it almost seems like it's more reactionary to the environment around them.
I mean, just like a lot of other stuff that's been coming around lately, tech sector. A bunch of companies cutting forecasts because the tariffs are eating into stuff. Like, I mean, I work in IT, and we keep getting updates every week from our vendor that's like, hey, prices are going to change because we don't know how much stuff is going to cost in a week. Like,
wow.
Yeah. So it's happening everywhere because, we're going to easily win this trade war. But
and for tech, everything's okay. No. Not talking about that.
Not talking about that. But saying
stay on topic.
But it seems more like that.
It's our first episode. We're rusty, but just please.
But that's what I'm saying is it seems more like a reaction by the industry to trade conditions and not a money grab. I think it's an adjustment in flight versus a change of, trajectory entirely.
I agree, and maybe this is self-serving or narrow-minded, but I never thought GM made great cars anyway. Nick, you want to fight me on that one?
I mean, 20-some years of reliable cars in our family, so...
Yeah, but I don't think you guys are buying Impalas.
We weren't. We were buying Equinoxes, and we did have Monte Carlos, and we bought there was a couple Cadillac CTSs in there, a couple of Yukons, a Jimmy, the Trail McBlazer,
Indeed.
which we all have fond memories of the Trail McBlazer.
True. I guess really that's what it is to me. Like the Impala, the Malibu.
So the ones that we're getting that everyone shits on, we never had those in our garage.
Right, the Cruise. Those are cars that I would never purchase or find desirable. They just seem like cars for people who had that car last time, and then the time before that, and the time before that.
We have a Cruise in the fleet, Jessica's car.
Yeah.
And I would say it's fine. To me, it's no different than an Accord or whatever. I mean, it's a car.
It'd be a Civic, right?
Yeah, Civic.
Compact or whatever.
Civic and, on the Toyota side, Camry. I mean, other than I'm sure there's not that legend of reliability there, but it's been zero problems for her. That it's fine. It is a perfectly fine car. And I think that's a lot of what you can say about GM's cars is that they're fine. I don't think you're going to find any stunners in the consumer car market for Chevy for the most part.
Strongly agree.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be more of the high-end sports cars that you're going to get,
right.
like the
And
ZL1.
SUVs.
Wow.
Sure.
Even.
Sure, but we're not even, not even talking about that.
Right. So it's weird because we had the swipe episode and we are all pretty much on Ford, and then the Ford thing happened and we're like,
then,
you know what? If we were to redo that, it would probably be GM. And then this happens with GM, but I don't think it doesn't sound like any of us are really ready to jump ship on GM on this one, just
For
because
me,
of the
I
circumstances.
can't because where would we go?
The weirdest
Ford?
thing, but the weirdest
No.
thing for me
or
is that,
FCA. Also no.
but again, the weirdest thing is that this,
We'll get to FCA in a minute too.
I guess that's really, now that you said that, that's really how I view this. To me, it's not that GM took away their cars, because I never thought about their cars in the first place.
Right.
It's just kind of like, cool, show me something now. It's
Right.
like
Yeah.
I feel like it really is cutting away kind of useless stuff. Now show me something.
I am kind of disappointed that they're stopping the Volt. I mean, because when that came out, like that won a bunch of awards. Like that was a really good car, and then they just didn't do anything with it.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
didn't do anything.
And
I think they're going to
Like-
be pushing hard for the full electric as a big thing
yeah,
with the
Probably.
Bolt.
so that's what's new with General Motors. You wanted, if we go chronologically, the next one would probably be the Renault Nissan Alliance.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that, dude.
That's hot. That is a hot topic.
That's crazy. I can't pronounce Carlos. Is it
Gosen.
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 Gosen. So just to kind of paint the picture for everybody, like Carlos Gosen was hailed throughout the industry over the past decade
Throughout
plus.
the entire world.
Yes. As a visionary, as like, what did they say? Hailed for saving Nissan, reviving Renault, rethinking how automakers could share technology. Like he created the Renault Nissan Alliance.
And they are what, the world's second or third largest?
I think at the time they
in
were the
terms of total.
10.6 million cars per year they put out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, and he was in charge of the whole thing. And
Notice
people
the
were
past
people.
tense.
Yeah, it was. We'll get, Andrew can drop that bombshell on us. So what happened to Mr. Gosen?
Well, Carlos Gosen was visiting Japan, and I think this was in. Sorry, I didn't get the date because I'm a terrible host. But was it
We're
December?
not professionals. We already said that.
Early
It's fine.
December, late November. Facts don't
Yeah.
matter. Anyways, he was visiting Japan.
Post-Truth Society.
Yeah. I did read in some article, maybe it was on Auto News or something like that, that Gosen was going to Japan to somehow alter the role of Nissan CEO. I have his name here. I don't want to too terribly butcher it, but it's Hiroto. I think it's Saikawa.
Sure.
Hiroto Saikawa, who's now calls himself the president of Nissan. I heard that Gosen was going there to change his role somehow. Suddenly, Gosen gets arrested for underreporting pay dating back to 2015. Now, in Japan, this is a serious financial crime. And because it occurred in Japan, under the auspices of Nissan, they immediately arrested him. Since then, he's been indicted for two more somewhat serious charges. The first one was that he underreported a further 3 years. And lately, just on Friday, they're accusing him of a crime in Japan that's called the breach of trust, with the specific accusation being that he moved $17 million of his personal investment losses directly into Nissan, the company. This is like brand new developing stuff.
I hadn't even heard that.
Yeah, me neither.
Further pursuant to that, Nissan also filed an unjust enrichment claim in Brazil against Goson's sister to allow them to investigate her personal apartment in Brazil.
Yeah, Carlos Ghosn is originally from Brazil. He's like Lebanese, Brazilian.
I believe so.
Yes.
Background.
And French. He's a French citizen as well.
Yeah, they apparently his sister was being paid $100,000 a year as a quote advisor. She didn't do any
nothing.
advising. Yeah, she just like sat in the apartment in Brazil that when Carlos goes down there, he likes to stay in. She was essentially like a housemaid, a house sitter, and she did no advising for Nissan and got paid $100,000 a year through Nissan's books to do so.
Thus the unjust enrichment claim. Oh, also, right, we forgot to even go. Nissan also wants to dissolve the partnership with Renault. And though I don't know the exact numbers, but the way it works out is that Nissan owns, I want to say it's around 40% of Nissan, whereas Nissan has
of Renault. Nissan owns 40% of Renault.
Yes. No. Renault owns more of Nissan than Nissan has in Renault. So I think it's Renault owning 40% of Nissan and Nissan having a 17% non-voting share in Renault. So
just
they can't even
sharing.
vote. Yeah, just revenue sharing.
Yep.
So, what's truth and what's not. What's clear is that Gosen was going to Japan for a reason. And
then got short-stopped by the cops.
but I gotta say, if it's true that he was going there to somehow change or alter the role of Hiroto Sakawa, which I think is very believable.
As the chairman, he can do that.
And then Hiroto does the flip. That's some fucking gangster shit.
That is.
Like, this is beyond scorched earth at this point. He's going after Gosen's entire family
Yep.
with the full might of Nissan behind it. I never even dreamed. This is like Bourne Supremacy level corporate espionage action here. Like,
This is like a multinational corporation diss track.
it's so crazy. It's so crazy how far this went.
It feels, it's not, I don't think anyway, but it almost feels organized crimey.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
100%.
Or like cartel-like. We're like, wait, there's a new guy in charge. Like, and just, are you good with that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like the guy who was leading the whole thing forever just gets axed.
That totally does. Maybe this is like all Hollywood fantasy, but really the way this advances and now
Should we get the rights to a script on this?
someone's got to make this movie. That's for sure.
Corporate espionage? You can make a real entertaining movie out
We
of
can
this.
get Ron Howard.
Probably.
He could do it.
He would do it.
He would totally do it.
No, I'm
He did
so,
Rush. He would do this.
Yeah.
I'm so interested in this simply because it started almost like a personal slight. You know what I mean? They arrested him for underreporting, which I think it is a crime not to make light of it necessarily, but
It's one of those white collar things where like he'll probably pay a fine and walk.
right. But they kept him in prison by continually charging him with different crimes until they got to this point. Breach of trust in Japan is up to a 10-year prison sentence and some outrageous amount of money.
As we're recording this, he's still sitting in prison.
Yeah, because they keep charging him with new crimes and interrogating him.
Yep.
Like, the Japanese police are much like police in the rest of the world. They do not fuck around once they arrest you.
Nope. And I don't know how much this is going to play into it as far as like trying to dissolve the partnership. The French government owns a piece of Renault.
Yes, they do.
It's like between 10 and 15%.
Oh,
something
sorry.
Like that.
I forgot to mention that. That was actually an initial part of this. Nissan demanded an internal investigation, which would obviously be run by the French government. That investigation has now finished, and they're saying they found no evidence of any wrongdoing.
So they maybe don't want to dissolve the partnership.
Did they look very hard?
The famously pure and absolutely never been corrupt French government.
Look at any world news headlines right now to see what's
They
going
have never had problems,
Never had problems with the French government.
specifically with corruption. Never.
Never.
Yeah,
For people who might not know, they're the
we-
Illinois of Europe.
Wow.
Is that unfair? Is that
no,
unfair?
that's pretty accurate. I think we found nothing. We have no idea what's going on.
As he's like sliding a document under another document.
That's funny.
Yeah, so this is going to drag out a while. I don't even want to ask you guys for predictions because there's going to be more facts coming out. This is going to be like an ongoing thing.
Yeah, this is too early to tell anything. It's gonna be bad though.
It's going to be bad.
Oh, and also, while we haven't mentioned them specifically by name, Mitsubishi is also involved with this, the latest acquisition from the former, or I guess current, whatever it is, Renault-Nissan alliance. And they are very much on the side of Nissan.
Sure.
Mitsubishi's doing everything they can to help Nissan in this because,
Japan,
yeah,
sticking up for your bros.
Does Japan have any stake? in
Like the
this?
company, like the government?
Yeah.
Government? I don't think so.
I don't believe
In
so.
Nissan or anything else? I don't know for sure. But
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong on that, but I haven't read that as a headline so far.
Yeah, it's gonna.
is it some? As I was just wondering if it's some weird proxy war between Japan and France with car companies.
I don't think
that
so.
would be, that would be quite the movie.
That would be very interesting. But I will say that my understanding is that Japan is very much like South Korea in terms of the way they address business being a center point of the way the government kind of
Is
operates.
run, yeah,
They
yeah.
understand that business is extremely integral to their country as a whole. So they take things like this far more
They take
seriously.
things like corruption and financial crimes very, very. They're weighted very heavily.
Right. Whereas
sure.
here it tends to get laughed off. Just look at Elon Musk.
Yes.
It's a good segue.
It is I didn't try that, but that is actually my next one.
2 for 2 today.
The first
Look
thing
at
I
that.
want
We are
the first thing I want to talk about with
picked up
Elon,
right where we left off, boys.
Can we talk about the fact that he's like thick now? It's like thick Elon.
Well,
Has anyone else noticed this?
You told him a while ago to start eating Skittles as a new hobby. Maybe he didn't.
Maybe I
Could
did.
we not talk about thick Elon?
No, we have to because listen to me on this. Take what I'm about to say very seriously. So since the 420 tweet,
Oh,
and no, hold on,
I think I know where this is going.
just let me do it.
He's gonna riff.
Since
Let
the
him riff.
420 thing, and him going on the Joe Rogan podcast, smoking a blunt the size of an actual conch shell, Elon has gotten thicker in the way, speaking from personal experience, that you get thick when you find out about weed plus topper sticks and that you can get the frosting and the savory sauce with the bacon. Listen, I think because the rumor at the time of the 420 tweet was, he just found out about weed, blah, 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 blah,
But
blah.
I think that's true.
Strong possibility in my mind.
He just discovered weed.
I'm seeing these dots connect. At
Well,
a
how
way
much weed
that-
have you smoked before this episode that you're seeing dots connect?
You know that I have a master's in creative writing, right?
Yes.
That's basically a master's in
Weed smoking.
I have academic knowledge. Let me put it that way.
You have detailed files.
But no, that's all a joke. But I did notice that he actually. It could genuinely be the fact that no joking here. Elon and Tesla got majorly investigated by the SEC, and no matter how much he wants to front that it didn't scare him, that has to scare the shit out of anyone. Because remember, he made a deal. He brokered a deal with the SEC.
And this
a
is
deal.
Elon Musk. He will go to the mat for anything against anyone for any reason.
Because you don't want to screw with the
And
SEC.
he cut the deal with the SEC.
They would have ransacked the shit out of that business because when you and again, just like we're talking about with financial crimes, once in America, once you get a federal government agency involved, they're going to take you down as far as they possibly can.
Because at that point, they're slighted.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't bend to the federal government, then they're going to break you instead.
Yeah. And he had to cut the deal, whatever. He can laugh it off and act like it wasn't a big deal. All he can want now. But yeah, so that's Elon the person. I don't know what's going on with him.
I see him ending like Howard Hughes.
Really? That's kind of an obscure reference.
Right,
but-
because he's just...
With Leonardo DiCaprio playing him in a movie.
That was a great negative noise from Andrew. Just
No,
now.
that was me trying not to spit up all over the mic.
No,
They're brand new mics too.
Exactly.
I just think he's
We need more Patreon support. Andrew
slowly,
just killed a mic.
slowly just losing his mind. Like, just the most recent thing, I think we shared it on social about the Roadster.
The Roadster's
is
gonna
going to
hover,
fly,
everybody.
Or hover. It's just like, he'll just say anything
Here,
at this point.
You know what? It's working because I'm posting his shit.
can we circle way back to like the beginning on the whole Tesla thing? Still out, obviously, Nick
Out.
and Jason.
No, I'm out.
I do believe on some level that Elon Musk is a valuable mind. I think that he has good ideas, but I also think that he's bought too much of his hype to be responsible, and the federal government agrees with me. So it's not so much that I hate him personally. I find him very interesting. I find him incredibly obnoxious, but it's not that I want anything bad to happen to Elon. I just think he needs to rein it in a bit. And
I want something bad to happen to Elon.
But
I'll
here's
go
the
ahead
thing.
and say it.
But here's the thing. You know how it is. I
You recorded saying that now, so when he gets like murdered or something, they're gonna come looking for you first.
Yeah, there you go. No,
Nobody listens to us.
Stop it. We crossed the 3,000 listen mark while we were off
We're
air.
nearly
By the way,
we're almost at 3.2.
yeah, it's anyway.
3.2 thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, so thanks to listeners. But what I see Elon's trajectory being very similar to Kanye West's, in that at some point in the near future we will see Elon kind of come back out in the public eye
And run for president?
and be calmer. And maybe it's sort of a mercurial kind of thing with him. But right now he's looking a little thicker. He's kind of out there saying some wild shit, which we're going to get to
You
next.
say he's gonna come back out into the public eye like he's not already.
You know that he comes and goes, right? He
Yeah.
was recently in China, and he's probably going to disappear for a little bit. That's what I'm saying. The Kanye West comparison sounds dumb. Maybe it's kind of accurate.
And then he's going to drop a dope album.
I would listen to an Elon Musk album.
I would not.
I will listen. But, so, I say all that to say, on December 28th, Elon crushed it out of the park. He said his most ridiculous thing to date. I actually have the tweet. Of course, it was on Twitter.
I have it right at hand.
I saved it because it was lit, fam. All right, so on Twitter, there's a conversation about the brake pads in, I believe the Model S was the first one that they were talking. Anyways, they were talking about brake pads. There's a user here, JT Richards, don't even know, talking about the brake pads on the cars. They still use brake pads. The car still stops with friction between pads and rotors. Where there's friction, there is wear. Where there is wear, there's often need for replacement parts. The Tesla cars, may not need replacement as often, but they need replacement.
Fair.
Fair.
Absolutely true.
Because science.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Physics.
that is a fact. Your boy,
He is not our boy.
Elon the Musk came with
Elon the Musk.
he came with the Fuego volcano take from across the globe.
From China.
This is
Thus
incorrect.
speaketh Elon.
Yes. So speaking of the Elon, this is incorrect. Vast majority of vehicle motion is returned to the battery as the electric motors act like a generator in reverse. Brake pads on a Tesla literally never need to be replaced for the lifetime of the car. All right. Folks.
Who does he think he is?
Tristan, mute your mic. Andrew's going to riff for a minute.
No, but no. All joking aside, this is actually deadly serious. If you have a Tesla and you take it anywhere and they tell you the brake pads need to be replaced, replace the fucking brake pads. You will actually die if you don't replace brake pads. In the Tesla owner's manual, it says, replace the brake pads. Replace them. Folks, replace. Just do it.
It doesn't matter what car you drive. The brake pads are a wearable part.
I
They're a
can't
consumable part. You need to replace your brake
I can't
pads
even
at some
speak
point.
my way. Replace the fucking brake pads if they need to be replaced. He's wrong. He's wrong. And that's so dangerous. That's such an irresponsible thing to say. Is anyone else mad?
I don't disagree. I'm
with you on
very
this.
amused by how angry you are.
It's absurd for him to say anything like that.
It's absurd for him to say anything that he says.
I feel like this is so much worse though, because
It's-
people are
it's-
going to read that and believe it.
Yeah, that's the difference I think here.
He could cause actual deaths.
Yeah, you can believe that the Roadster's going to hover. It's not going to harm you in any way. It has no chance of actually harming you at all.
Probably
Down the line, maybe when you get one.
Yeah.
in
But
2020 for now.
yeah, this could have an immediate negative impact.
That's so bad.
Yeah,
I
I
find this
wonder.
so
I
out of line.
wonder. Thought experiment, not Tristan's deep thoughts, but close. I wonder. There was that article about the guy who used his Model S as a taxi in Quebec somewhere,
Sure.
and how he's put like just a zillion miles on the thing. And I wonder if he's replaced his brake pads. We should ask him.
I'm sure he has. I think that's the guy who kept that super in-depth log.
Yeah.
And, again, maybe that guy didn't need to replace his brake pads. Guess what? The lifetime of that car isn't over. He's still driving the car.
Yes.
And again, Elon is partially right in that, yes, you may not need to replace the brake pads as often as you do in a standard car.
Fair.
You still gotta replace them. It's in every owner's manual. Like the next tweet was a guy who just clipped it out of the online owner's manual, and it says, with the red triangle next to it, replace the brake pads.
When necessary or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just completely contradicting what his own engineers and legal team have put together.
It's so bad.
It's yeah, I mean, you say it's irresponsible. He's been irresponsible forever.
This seems more directly harmful to
But
me.
This is pretty egregious, though.
This really
pretty
does,
egregious.
It does seem directly harmful in this case. He's actually saying
He's telling people to ignore safety portions of their owner's manual.
yeah.
That's not necessarily. It's not even necessarily
Watch
reckless.
and
It's
watch
actually dangerous.
watch what happens when someone believes him, doesn't replace his brake pads, goes after him because of what he said, how he spins around, like you said, going to take him to the mat, wring their neck, he's going to completely spin 180 on this, and you can just see it coming.
Yep.
You just see it coming because he's so fucking petty.
What if Mary Barra said this? What if that idiot who's the head of Ford said this? Hackett?
Yeah, Hackett.
What if your car salesman said this to you?
Well, I would laugh at him.
I'd freak out.
And I'd go find his manager
Be
immediately.
like, you need to fire this man.
What if the guy at the Jiffy Lube said this? Your brake pads are worn. Don't worry about it.
What's that new commercial? Okay is not okay.
Yeah,
Where the
okay
guy
is-
said,
oh, yeah,
if
yeah,
the
yeah.
brakes don't stop it, something will.
Oh my god! Wow, yeah, right in there.
Right.
Maybe
Right in
maybe
there.
he saw that commercial and was like,
Yeah.
"Holy shit, he's right."
That guy's right. Phil knows what he's talking about.
That sounds like a weed ass thought to me.
It does.
Full circle. There we go.
Tied it up neatly with a bow.
Maybe I'm crazy, but that one really got me. You said you had some other stuff, Nick. I have a few other things, but
Yeah, I got a couple other ones. Let's see, which one should we go with first? Let's talk about the pending potential announcement coming at the Detroit Auto Show between Volkswagen and Ford. It's got people all revved up because there's like this revved up. See what I did there?
Because we're a car podcast.
First pun of the season. Keep it tally. Pun count 1 for Nick.
Ding.
don't brag.
Ding. That's where we need some more sound effects, producer.
We are working on that.
We're working on it. So there's a time slot on the main stage at the Detroit Auto Show for, I think it's just listed right now as like a pending announcement from Volkswagen and Ford.
Sure.
And people are just flipping out because they don't know what the announcement's going to be. They don't know if there's going to be an announcement. Now Volkswagen and Ford are kind of like, well, we may not do anything. We don't know. Like the time slot's reserved for us. We may not want to go.
Smoke screen bullshit.
Sandbagging.
But then you talk to like someone, what's his name? Here, I've got it. Jim Farley, who is Ford's president of global markets.
Of course he is.
Jim.
Jim.
Jim Farley. maybe a fat guy in a little coat also.
What's Jim got to say?
He says the discussions with Volkswagen are, quote, far along and very deep. So,
Says your mom.
We are not professionals or adults.
so, and then, you know, other sources close to both, you know, Volkswagen and Ford are saying that this alignment is going to, you know, it's a strategic alliance that's going to cover, quote, a number of fronts to reduce operating costs and streamline the operations.
Blah, blah.
Business boilerplate. Where a lot of the fingers are pointing towards are partnering on autonomous vehicles, the development of autonomous vehicles, and mid-sized pickups, because it was said before that VW wants to base the new Amarok on the Ranger that just came out. So another theory was that Volkswagen wants to use some of the U.S. Ford plants that have excess capacity for production of their vehicles, which is an interesting thought, because you think of like what GM is doing where they're shutting plants down.
Yeah.
How about instead of shutting the plants down, like the auto workers union, like it's a union's role to find these people a job. It doesn't necessarily, like, they don't have to just build Fords or Chevys or whatever it is. So if you're struggling, you want to maybe bring in some extra cash. Hey, we can't produce our own vehicles here, but we've got this plant. Instead of just shutting it down, laying these people off. Hey, VW. Hey, Toyota. We've got the workers. You want to just rent this space and build your whatever, you know, pick a model to send off our assembly lines here.
That would be, I think that's a great idea, but from the very little bit that I do understand about this, on a few different fronts, I do know that obviously the manufacturers are the ones who make the deals with the union heads. And actually, you know, one of the reasons that we don't get the i30 here, it's actually not because we have the Elantra. It's because there's a deal that Hyundai made with the primarily Balkans-based plants that make the i30. They can't sell that chassis here. They can sell it in Canada. They can't sell it in America. So, and I don't know why that is. It's probably something to do with the fact that the cross competition for that is in some ways the Veloster. That's based in South Korea. That's their most powerful union. So, you know, it gets really complex when you get into the sort of into the weeds here. But I don't know that it's as simple for companies than saying stuff like, you know, because I could feel like Toyota or Kia or Hyundai would want to snap up plants in America so that they wouldn't, you know, necessarily
and the
have
other
to
thing
pay
that
tariffs. But I don't know that it's that easy.
The other thing you run into is training, too.
Sure.
I know that a lot of things, like when Toyota started building vehicles here, they had to train the workers wildly differently.
Yeah.
And this was not a shared capacity plant. This was like, you're just going to build Toyotas here now. And in a lot of circumstances, they ended up building them better than the ones coming out of the plants in Japan.
Right.
But it was still very different than the manufacturing architecture and structure and skills that they were, you know, other car manufacturers were teaching their workers at the time.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be working on something like maybe two of those things, like building the Amarok on the Ranger platform at the same plant that's making Rangers.
And then you're just badge engineering.
Right. And then, you know, your manufacturing process is the same. I think having something that's going to be making the Escape and a Tiguan, it's going to be hard to get those lines side by side, train workers differently, stuff like that. I think is a major concern.
Yeah, now we get to speculate wildly. Let's say
Let's get wild.
my assumption,
Irresponsible journalism. Go.
well, my assumption is that
We're
this
not
trade
journalists, remember?
Exactly.
yeah, this trade is going to fundamentally be some part of the Ranger platform for part of the VW Group's autonomous tech, which is boring and stupid. What it should be is
Wait for it.
is the Ranger platform and access to maybe the F-150 platform going to VW, and parts of the MQB going back to Ford to make cars, which you can then platform share in plants, making things like the Jetta and a Ford compact car.
The next Focus.
the next Focus,
Jetta
perhaps
Focus.
something like that, which then for sure would sell in Europe.
Yep.
And then maybe some kind of new VW truck, which isn't a market they've ever had access to.
I'm intrigued by that.
It will never happen, but it's cool.
But it's neat.
It's cool to speculate. Just is that long game that we kind of maybe Ford is just playing this long game with? They cut their own car production. Now they're going to announce this. They potentially might announce this partnership, this alliance with Volkswagen, where Volkswagen is just badge engineering their cars as Fords.
Or if we want to get
Huh?
really Jason Bourne on this is all Volkswagen's doing. They convince them to cut car production so they have excess capacity, and they're willing to share truck technology.
Oh shit!
Oh damn!
That wow.
Or let's approach this from another angle. Let's go way out in right field here. We've talked a few times last season about how auto shows are starving for attention. Companies don't want to go, not getting as much media attention, not getting as much foot traffic. What if the organizers of the Detroit Auto Show just went right up the street to Ford and let's just try to put something together to stir the pot?
They're announcing something for sure.
You think?
Oh, I do. All this will they, won't they? I don't buy that part of it. I definitely think they're going to announce something. I just don't think it's going to be very interesting. That's going to rhyme it as I snort directly into the mic. Oh, that really hurt.
So it's going to be a lot of hype for a blah announcement, is what you're saying.
That's
A blah announcement.
yeah.
Ugh,
We know.
really?
No, that is what I think, though. While it would be cool if Ford and VW could move forward into something, similar to what the Ford and Mazda partnership used to be, where you did get some cool cars that were co-badged, and it helped both. I think in the end, Mazda's really never recovered since, but I just don't think we're going to see that now. Then again, I could be wrong, because it's not like the VW group is shy about the MQB platform. That thing is everywhere. It's in 6 different car manufacturers right now.
Yeah, but aren't they all VAG?
They are all VAG, but it's, again, what I'm saying is it's not as if, while that platform is obviously very well guarded in terms of trade secrets, it's not as if they're scared to give it to people to do different things with.
Yes, like Skoda,
Yeah.
Seat.
Exactly. And well, yeah,
Seat.
Skoda is the perfect example. They do wacky shit with the MQB platform.
I want Skoda to be here.
Yeah, they do all kinds of cool stuff. And Ford has a recent history of making very good cars just on their own. And with that platform at their disposal, they definitely could do something, while VW has a definite international reputation for high quality, specifically with their off-road vehicles. And while they don't sell them here, this is a way for them to kind of bridge that and move in. This could be really cool. It's probably going to be boring and dumb.
Yeah, this has the potential to be super neat and probably going to be boring.
Yeah.
But I'm still looking forward to finding out.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Full size VW truck, F-150 class VW truck. Would I buy one of those?
Kind of a frightening thought.
Yeah,
What would they call it?
I don't know.
some other language name for an animal, probably.
Or like a rock. Another language name for a kind of rock that's only found at the top of a mountain.
You can only get there in this truck to look at it.
Yes.
We are marketing geniuses.
The VW Blarney.
You gotta hang upside down out of your driver's window to start it.
I just hope it's something cool, that's all.
So more to come very soon on that one, within the next few days. The other one I had down, the other topic I had was we want to get in. Do you guys want to get into this FCA civil emissions penalty that they're paying off here?
They skated by so easy on that because of the Gosen thing, because of all these other news.
Yeah,
stories
it
we
was like,
talked
oh,
about.
by the way, this, and nobody paid
I
attention.
actually had to look up what you were talking about so I could act like I knew it.
Well, don't worry, I took a lot of notes, so
He
I
has
can fill you
copious
in.
notes.
I have copious notes. So for those of you who haven't heard, because you've been paying too much attention to Ford, VW, or Carlos Ghosn, or Elon
this
Musk, or
stuff.
General Motors,
Or Christmas.
or Christmas,
Whatever.
or whatever else, Fiat Chrysler Alliance has agreed to pay $800 million
So much money.
in civil penalties and compliance costs, because they're settling allegations that they installed the defeat device software, which was similar to Dieselgate from Volkswagen a few years back.
And everybody else too. It was who was it? It was Volkswagen, and then someone else overseas was doing it as well.
So what I've got here,
Mercedes.
I've got Mercedes, Ford, and General Motors are all being investigated,
Yep.
but not one of them, and including FCA, none of these parties that are being investigated, none of them have actually been formally charged with any sort of official crimes. But apparently FCA is just getting out in front of it and saying, you know what? It's worth $800 million to us if you just leave us alone.
That might be smart. Although, look at what's happened to VW since the initial fee payment. Then it becomes... So this is civil? So you're saying this is civil?
Not criminal.
Civil penalties. So first we'll take this. We'll do a couple things here. First, for those of you who are not familiar with what this defeat device software is, it's made by Bosch, and what it does is it'll on diesel vehicles. So this involves with FCA. It's the Jeep and Ram diesels. It's about 100,000 vehicles that are affected by this.
It's like nothing.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But what the defeat device software does, it can essentially sense when
It knows when it's being tested.
it knows when it's being tested, and it can alter the engine mapping to emit less pollution. It's actually, as long as it's disclosed, it can be allowed to use excess pollution for things like a cold start if it
Yes.
needs to.
Right.
But what the problem here is that they don't think it's been disclosed properly.
Yeah, or like a lot of companies end up doing this. It's this technology by Bosch that is designed to allow things like diesels to start in the cold ever. If you've ever heard jokes about diesel trucks in Siberia never turn off because it's hard to restart a diesel in the cold. This technology allows them to start in the cold, but it's like the first...
You can also map it another way.
Well, and the first 5 minutes are just massive dumps of pollution, and the parameters of the cold start are being expanded to always. It's like, we're always in cold start conditions, basically.
Right.
And it's like, when it warms up, it should stop. Nope, it keeps going.
And they do this for the horsepower gain, for the performance gain.
And this is something that, it's like you can turn this off, but as many Volkswagen owners know who kept their vehicles after the software fix, they suddenly become slower and actually get worse gas mileage.
Yep.
They get better emissions, but they actually burn more diesel per mile.
Right.
Right. So now that's what we're talking about here. That's where the issue lies. Now let's talk about where this $800 million is going to go. So I've got, according to this article that I found, $305 million goes to the EPA, the Department of Justice, and this committee called CARB.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
California.
Yep. State of Cali.
$6 million is going to Customs and Border Patrol.
Okay.
$72.5 million
Gotta build that
to
wall
various state attorneys general.
Fees.
$78.4 million to the state of California.
Carb.
$19 million getting put towards catalytic converter upgrades on some existing vehicles.
Sure.
And the other $400 million, the other half of this, for a software upgrade and payments to current and former owners who have these vehicles. It comes out to about $2,800 per owner.
Damn.
So for something that they haven't been found guilty of. Mind you.
This is the settled amount.
This is just the settled amount. This is just
They got him for a billy on a settlement.
yeah. So
More or less.
they
Close
have,
is not,
it's,
makes no
it was
difference.
made as they're making this announcement. By the way, we're paying $800 million, but we didn't do anything wrong. FCA wants to make that very clear.
The what's the legal term that always uses, this settlement is not a
Indictment.
indication of guilt or whatever. It's like not an admission of
Not
wrongdoing.
Yeah.
So,
Wrongdoing.
so they're guilty, right?
Yeah, definitely. Just like claiming the fifth is not evidence that you're guilty.
Right.
Definitely is.
I am so fascinated by this Bosch tech. and just the amount of engineering that went into, scamming people, basically.
Yep.
It's so,
And can we really go after? No one can really go after Bosch for that, though. Can they?
I actually don't know, because they can make any kind of device they want.
right.
They paid for it.
They developed the underlying technology. The conceit is that the auto manufacturers have control over the use of
Yeah,
this.
it's just like every aftermarket part. You can make
Implementation is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
The implementation of this technology, and I think that's why it's not Bosch's fault.
It's like Harley selling aftermarket pipes. They can sell whatever they want.
It's the use of it that's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like fireworks in the state of Wisconsin.
Oh, is that really what the...
Yeah, you can sell whatever you want. You have to have a permit or a license or whatever to use them, and nobody gets it.
Great.
So there you go. Fiat Chrysler is paying $800 million for something that they didn't do.
According to them.
According
It's
to
so
them.
crazy. I saw almost no... Like, not even...
I saw no coverage of this until...
But not even on car Twitter.
Yeah.
People
Nowhere.
just dead silent on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was scrolling through looking for content for the Facebook page, and I found that on I think it was Car and Driver.
And I'm still relatively heavily invested in Volkswagen social media, and you'd think it would have VW fans just howling about how it's not only VW that does this.
Nobody heard about it.
Because it happened with every time else this happened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, wait, what? 800
Wow.
That was loud.
800 million?
Wow.
Like, I gotta post this. And then I read the article. I'm like, wow, what the hell is going on? Like, how come, like you said, how come no one else is talking about this?
It is bizarre.
It's crazy.
Here's another story that skated. I got a good one here.
All right. What's our time? Just over an hour? Yeah, we got a little bit of time.
One that'll make us all very happy. So in on Medium, is Medium magazines? Medium, well, I don't care.
Sure.
So I saw a very interesting article. I happened upon it somehow. It's a interview of the CEO of Waymo.
Yes.
That guy.
They're a Google company, right?
Yes.
They're part of Alphabet.
They're still Alphabet company, yes.
And they're the quote-unquote industry leader in autonomous vehicles. The CEO of Waymo, John Kafchik? John K. Yeah, John K. admits that the self-driving car that can drive in any condition, the one that Elon says he has now and is a fucking liar about, the one that can drive in any condition on any road without human input or a level 5 autonomous vehicle, the CEO of Waymo is saying it can never happen. Here's why.
Which is what we said earlier.
Here's why. Here's what John says.
We were right, part 2.
At the Wall Street Journal's D Live conference, never heard of it?
Nope.
In November, he said that
Great.
autonomy will always have constraints. It will take decades for self-driving cars to become common on roads, and even then they will not be able to drive in certain conditions at certain times of year or in any weather.
So ever. Even good weather?
So if you don't live in Arizona or Florida,
San Diego.
or San Diego, you're pretty much out of luck.
Here's his summation sentence. In short, sensors on autonomous vehicles don't work well in snow or rain, and that may never change.
I mean, by the very physics of LiDAR, it can't.
Exactly.
So, Ford's doing some interesting stuff with, like, interferometry, kind of like telescopes, where you use multiple sources and compare the difference between them to try to alleviate some of that, but it's only so far. So we might see something, but I agree. I think there's going to be hard technical limitations until we come up with something different.
Yeah, there absolutely are currently, and there will be for the foreseeable future. Further pursuant to that, don't believe what people are telling you.
The only
about
thing, and I
driving
think this is where he's going, probably without saying it, is we have to wait for functionally AI. You have to be able to bolt 2 cameras to a computer and have it interpret visual data like a human.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And that's, I think, the only thing that's going to get around the limitations of this kind of stuff.
You're probably right. I just think... Remember when Cadillac was making that push for their... What's their auto drive system called? They
had that commercial where the guy took his hands off the wheel.
Yeah, which was then mysteriously taken off the air, and no one's ever pursued that, by the way. They don't advertise a system like that anymore.
Yeah. Auto drive or something like that?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But there was like a weird push earlier, or maybe like midway through last year, for the autonomous car thing, and it was almost like they had a lot of people convinced that the next week you're going to be able to buy a fully autonomous car, and then that just poof, just
The whole
completely
industry
disappeared.
backed off.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but it's interesting.
There was a lot of people like us going, well, wait a minute.
Or the engineers finally surfaced and went, whoa, what are you saying? We can't do this.
Listen,
They finally let the engineers out of the cave.
Yeah, I have bad news for you guys.
Stop this now.
Yeah, exactly.
Banging on the inside of the door. No.
And Cadillac never did respond to my DM asking them about whether or not they planned to continue to advertise their autonomous driving system by showing people with their hands off the wheel.
They don't
They
want
didn't have to because they stopped.
They did stop.
they don't want to engage with you. They know better.
I gotta say that was probably one of my most professionally written requests for information, and I never heard back.
Yeah.
It's Twitter. You can't be professional. You have to be fearsome.
But I didn't start it with Suppo, so I think I did well. You got anything else, Nick?
I don't have any other major stories unless anybody else has any other to...
I only have one more.
All right.
Which will sum this all up nicely. So there was a lot of angst last year, just with car sales and this and that and the other thing. You know, we're never gonna meet sales targets. We're never gonna blah 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 blah. 2018 ended up as the 4th highest sales year of all time.
Yes, I did see
Ever.
that.
And is that monetarily adjusted for inflation or numbers?
I actually believe it was
volume.
I believe it was volume, but monetarily it falls along. And it was a very, very small, I think 0.6% increase from last year. So what that says to me, obviously, infinite growth never happens, completely unsustainable.
Yes.
There will be a down year, and it may be this year, it may be next year, but maybe this is how people in the industry need to push themselves or like sell themselves the idea of continuing to push sales.
Yeah.
But let's all calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody take a breath.
And I think it's interesting looking at a breakdown of those numbers. Something that I've been seeing in a few places is that the biggest automakers started to slide.
Yes.
I think what we're seeing is the leveling of the auto market. So I think it was GM, Ford, Toyota, and Honda, I think all slipped.
Yes.
And then, but oddly, FCA climbed
They did.
quite a bit.
They really did.
Based on the Jeep and Ram platform.
I thought I saw their year-on-year up like 26%.
Yeah, it was
they had a
it was like
monster
solid
year.
double digits.
Monster year
Yeah.
for FCA.
And then all the little guys, Hyundai, Kia, all that, is so you have the largest automakers actually had a down year, and the auto market in general had an up year. I think that says a lot.
Well, I think that goes back to who's getting into those positions to have buying power.
Yeah.
It's not so much, like grandparents and parents who are just loyal to a brand no matter what. The kids now who are getting to this place where they're able to buy cars are not necessarily loyal to a brand. They might just like a type of car. I want a hatchback. Well, a bunch of people make hatchbacks.
Read my blog.
Yeah,
Very
exactly
similar,
what Tristan said.
very similar
Exactly.
to where I was going with that. It's people are buying cars they enjoy and they don't care what the badge says.
Exactly. I think that's the most logical explanation for it.
Yeah.
That's a nice little ribbon, little bow to kind of
Yeah, that worked
tie it all
nicely.
together. Where are we at time-wise, man?
Just over an hour.
108.
He has to look himself.
108.
Why'd you ask?
I'll be just over. I don't know. Maybe we. So, I mean, do we have time? Like, we didn't plan on doing this episode, but there's just so much shit happening that we had to do it. As this gets released, we're leading into the Rolex 24 at Daytona at the end of January, which is like the first big major auto race. Do we want to spend like 5-10 minutes on a quick racing blurb, or do we just want to?
We can do a little bit. There's at least one story I really want to get into, and I just want to shout out the Ford team for bringing back the green, white, and red.
Yes.
The Castrol livery.
Castrol liveries.
Yep.
Oh,
There's a
Everyone's
lot
doing
of
that for
good
IMSA's
retro
50th
liveries,
anniversary.
yeah.
Not everyone. There's a lot of them. The Wins, the
Yep.
the
The
Riley
Wins
AMG is dope.
It's hot.
Penske, the Acura DPIs just really, and they have an Acura throwback
Really?
to the I think late 80s or early 90s or something
How
like
old
that.
could it be?
There's something about that Castrol. I don't even. It's just like.
And the
that
other one, even
livery.
with the Motocraft, looks pretty tight too.
Yeah.
The other car, but yeah, the Castrol one is sick. So
Outside of IMSA, the throwback continues. Subaru's rally team is going back to their blue and yellow with gold wheels.
yes,
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep. So it's everywhere.
yeah, it's everyone's eating those member berries, man. So yeah, let's we'll go through. I'm just gonna say right now, there's not a whole lot to talk about in F1. Hamilton's gonna win. Okay,
Next.
Is that your official? You want to wait, or you want to make that prediction now?
I'll call it now.
Okay.
You
I
can
don't
hold me
disagree.
to
I
it.
don't disagree.
I don't either. I just think
I'll call
an
it
early
now.
entry is a good one.
So let's start in. We'll just go through some NASCAR stuff real quick. Fortunately, a lot of negative stuff here. First off, we just got everyone just got word earlier today that the president for Joe Gibbs Racing, JD Gibbs, has passed away. He was only 49 years old. His father, legendary NFL coach Joe Gibbs. JD was actually the one who convinced his dad to get into motorsports when he left coaching, and he ended up running the team. 4 NASCAR Monster Cup teams, 3 NASCAR Xfinity cars. They also branched out. They have a factory-backed Supercross team.
Nice.
So they race 4 wheels and 2. So just condolences to the Gibbs team and everyone who was close with JD. That's terrible news. So
You always know it's hard, especially with someone so young.
so young, 49 years old. I guess he's been battling some sort of degenerative neurological disorder since like 2015 or something. And I guess it just got the best of him here about a month before his 50th birthday. So
Prayers to everyone.
T's and P's and positive vibes out to everyone in that camp. I mentioned Xfinity. Gibbs has 3 teams running. 2 big players announced that they're shutting down their Xfinity programs for this year. Chip Ganassi, Juggernaut, IndyCar,
Really?
IMSA.
They're shutting down their Xfinity.
They're shutting down their. Now they ran 1 car full time,
Oh, okay. I guess
and
I
they're
didn't
they're
know.
shutting it down this year. And the reason I wanted to touch on this because it was a shame. A lot of times they kind of cycled in their cup drivers in and then gave a couple of development drivers a shot. They gave a guy a shot last year. His name's Ross Chastain. He's 25 or 6. He always raced kind of like our friend Josh Bilicki did for mid-level teams. They gave him like a 3-race deal at the end of last year. Qualified on the pole twice, led a bunch of laps in all 3 races, won one of them, earned him full-time, paid-for ride for Chip Ganassi. And now, a month before the season, the sponsor backs out and they don't have any way to run the team. So I feel really bad for Ross
That
Chastain.
is just right to the feels.
If you're an Xfinity team out there, and even if it's a part-time deal, get this kid in a car. Just get Ross. Well, first call Josh Bilicki, and then if Josh isn't available,
Yeah, how about Prevagen? Huh?
how about Josh has got Prevagen money, supposedly, from the last we checked. I haven't talked to him since Christmas, so I don't know. But yes, someone needs to. It's short term. We're less than a month away from Daytona, but we've got to find a way to get Ross Chastain in a car. And then the other team that shut down, Roush, the winningest Xfinity team
Yeah, I was gonna
ever.
say.
They have a 3-car program up until the end of last
And
year.
then poof.
None.
Wow.
So it's
I heard about that one.
like,
actually.
what's the field going to be like for Xfinity?
Wait, did Roush run in Monster as well? Are these
They
teams
have-
that have Monster
Yes.
programs and they are just pulling back?
Yep. So Roush runs 2 full-time Monster Cup cars, and they had 3 Xfinity cars, and they're axing all of them. Damn. And then NASCAR as an organization, they just announced an organizational layoff. Roughly 5% of their workforce across every department, just reducing operating costs, all the business boilerplate stuff. But they're still going to charge $250 for a ticket and then wonder why nobody shows up.
Yup.
So instead of just lowering ticket prices, so more people go through the gates. They're just going to axe employees.
You can sell $250 tickets or no $250 tickets.
Yeah.
So Negatives on NASCAR.
Well, here's a question I have about that, actually. So what we know is that obviously big teams use Xfinity to test out drivers and eventually pull
They
them
develop.
up.
Well, it's not just developing drivers; it's developing the crew members and the engineers and everybody. Like
Right.
they work them all up from the bottom.
So, I mean, not that I would necessarily expect to see this with two teams doing it, but if we continue to see a contraction of Xfinity, and I assume truck as well, are we going to see sloppier NASCAR racing? Because that was always their thing. They prided the Monster Cup on being the tightest and best. But you still have to develop drivers and teams.
Yeah, where's that development going to come
Exactly.
from? Unless you just throw them into the deep end.
That nobody wants
Nobody
that.
wants that. Nobody wants that. Well, here's what I see too. Is
Everybody liked checkered yellows.
look, if you've got, so that's 4 cars from big time organizations that are being axed. That's 4 group. I mean, if Ganassi and Roush are developing these people, drivers, crew members, engineers, if they have their hands on them, they're probably pretty good.
Right.
So you've got 4 groups of really talented people out there looking for a job. If you're one of those mid-level teams, if you want a way to boost your competitiveness real quick, you've got some guys who are looking for work.
Yeah.
Some good people looking for work. So and I'm wondering about car count. I mean, I'm going to be in Daytona for the kickoff, so I'm going to see Truck, Xfinity, and the Cup races there. Daytona's different because it's Daytona.
Right.
Even if they're not running full time, people are going to try to put a car together for Daytona. So we may not see it until week 2, 3, 4. But once they get out to like that West Coast swing where they're out in California and Vegas and Phoenix, like how many cars are actually going to make the trip out there? Like and for those feeder series, like I think Cup series will be okay, but for the feeders, like what are you going to see? So I don't know. IndyCar a lot more positive. So there was actually an article that IndyCar put out that I'm just going to kind of run down because I agree with every single one of these things. 4 main points to be excited about with IndyCar this year. Number 1, Rookie of the Year fight. Last year's
Just sounds like you're gonna put him in the ring.
put him in a ring and fight him out.
I pictured a slap fight.
Slappers only.
Last year's top rookie was Wickens. We'll get to him in a second. This year, the class seems to be just as deep. Patricio Award, young Mexican driver. He won in IMSA a couple years ago.
That's
He
a
won
great name.
Patricio Award.
I love it.
Pato, as they call him.
Pato.
Um,
That's not as good a name.
so
or if it's Pato, it's pato, which means duck in Spanish. That could be
Pato.
fun. That could be fun.
they
Where
may
did
call
you
him.
pull that from?
I took Spanish for a long time.
Wow.
like 6 years.
Tristan from downtown.
Tristan from the 3rd grade.
Yep.
All right.
Well, okay. IMSA champion in 2017, Indy Lights champion in 2018. Very experienced with a lot of high-powered vehicles. He's still only 19 years old.
Ooh.
And he's an
What am I
Andretti,
doing with my life?
No.
technically an
Lord.
Andretti junior driver. He's not running for Andretti. He's running for another team, kind of a satellite operation. Probably going to get drafted up to the big boys before too long. So he's going to be one to watch. And IndyCar has been trying to get back into Mexico for a race for a while.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that they always needed was like a Mexican star.
Sure.
He might be the key that gets IndyCar back into Mexico to run some races. For Ganassi, teammate to Dixon, watch Felix Rosenquist. He will win a race this year. There's another prediction.
He will.
He will. Marcus Ericsson is coming over, and a lot of you may not know him, but if you've been able to maintain and run in Formula One for 5 years, you've got some clout.
Okay.
So he's going to be James Hinchcliffe's teammate.
Hinchy.
Hinch, replacing Wickens.
Right.
And he's going to be pretty quick, too. I don't know if he's going to win right off the bat because the cars are so different to drive from Formula One. But if you see how Rossi did a couple years into his IndyCar career after Formula One, there's a lot of potential there. Speaking of Formula One, they are running at Circuit of the Americas this year for the first time.
Full course.
The full Formula One track with IndyCar. It's going to be cool to compare lap times. I think for fans who went and saw Formula One where everything was all closed off, we were there for IMSA and WEC and everything was opened up. They're saying IndyCar is going to be the same way.
Nice.
Walk right through the paddock, talk to the teams, meet the drivers, do the whole thing. So even if you've been to Coda before to see an F1 race, this is going to be a completely different experience for you. So take advantage of it. The fact that NBC is such a committed TV partner.
We saw ads tonight. We've seen them during every playoff game in NBC.
NBC is already advertising Indy 500, which is coming in May, and they're advertising it during the NFL playoffs, which is like the most watched sports, the most watched television this weekend. So
it is exciting to see that.
It's really cool to see that. And then title recipe is what they dubbed it on the article. You got Dixon trying to go for number 6. Title.
Why did I think the music streaming service?
Who's
Tidal.
Who's going to win a title? So we've got Dixon going for 6. Rossi looks like a man possessed. And then you've got the Penske trio, who, by all accounts, really had a down year last year, besides Power winning, the May sweep and winning the 500. You've still got Power, Pagano, and Newgarden driving for Penske. You've got Dixon trying to win number 6.
A law firm.
It does. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Because they always put the longest name at the end.
Well, yeah, you have to. Because you can, the kerning lines up well.
Absolutely. So the title mix, it's probably going to come down to the last race. It's going to be up for grabs between more than one person. So a lot to look forward to for IndyCar. And we said we'd get to Robert Wickens, the man who was paralyzed from the waist down 4 months ago in the accident at Pocono, has posted videos on his Twitter account yesterday walking around the hospital. Mm-hmm. It is with a lot of assistance. He has someone kind of behind him holding him up by a brace, and he's got a walker.
Doesn't matter.
That is awesome. He's not gonna race. I'm gonna say for 2 years, but he is going to be at one of the races next year in attendance in person, and that is going to be awesome.
I bet he races again.
I think if he wants,
he'll race again.
Yeah. Well, originally they said he wasn't gonna.
I think he's going to. I'm just giving him 2 years. I'm going to say 2021. But he will get back in a car.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be next year.
Yeah.
But he will be at the track as a spectator next year, and it's going to be awesome to see the ovation when they show him on the jumbotron. It's just going to be a great feel good moment.
It's the best possible news.
So
it's been in under 6 months.
So keep fighting, Robert. It's awesome news. That's great. The one thing I wanted to talk to everybody about in IMSA is that they split. It's just kind of a poor timing thing. They split into 4 classes. They split the prototypes into 2.
Yeah.
The DPI and then the global P2 spec.
Yep.
When they did it, they had 5 full-time P2 cars. Now they have 2. They don't have enough to fill the podium.
Have they moved? Where did the rest of them go? Did they move into...
So JDC Miller, which was the banana boat.
Yep.
And then the Gainesco car, the Red Dragon.
Which I just saw, they had pictures of the banana boat at the Roar before the 24.
As a Cadillac DPI. They jumped up.
Oh, that's what... Oh, right,
So 2 cars went out, and then when Extreme Speed shut down the Nissan program, Core, which we tried to get our sticker on, the number 54 car, they took over the Nissan DPI program, so they moved up.
Oh, yes.
So they've got...
So we're going to have Core, probably the Flexbox Nissan, huh?
Flexbox Nissan. Two yellow banana boat Cadillacs.
That's cool. That's good.
But that leaves P2 with 2 full-time cars.
Who they aren't on the same team, are they?
No, it's the PR1 Matheson, and then the Performance Tech team with local boy James French behind the wheel. Go James. And then according to like Orica's salesmen, like the people who sell the P2 spec chassis, like they've received a lot of inquiries, but no one's actually pulled the trigger yet.
How'd you like to have that as a job?
Oh,
they sell Oricas. Vacuums? No.
Those are Oryx.
Add an A and about 200 miles an hour to that, and then
Wonder how fast the fastest vacuum cleaner goes.
We should test that and put that on YouTube. We haven't used our YouTube channel around. Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. So, quick racing roundup. I was supposed to make that more of an episode, but we had so much other shit to talk about. But yeah, that's all I had for you guys.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, so much to come, specifically from racing. We haven't even started, and I mean,
we have to announce the results of our poll, where we're going to be going for our traveling race this year. A lot of stuff to cover. So let's go with some thank yous and wrap this up.
I just want to thank the listeners. I mean, hopefully we're going to retain over this break. Hopefully you guys are going to help us, continue to help us as we move forward. We gained so many, we picked up so many listens over the break. I literally could not believe it. We crossed the 2,000 and went well into 3,000 just when we were over break. And that's all pure the listeners.
That's right. We weren't putting out any new content over the last 6 weeks, and that's when we jumped the sharpest.
So thank
That's
you to
crazy.
all of you
Yeah.
so much. We really we can't tell you how much we appreciate it.
Yeah. Tristan?
I would like to thank Anchor, our home away from home on the podcast internets, mainly for literally trying to have companies throw money at us.
Yes.
I mean,
Thank you to Flipboard.
yeah, I mean, Flipboard and Anchor kicked it off with their own sponsorship, and we've earned. Now this is, bear in mind, this is $15 per 1,000 listens or something like that for Flipboard, and we've already made almost $2 of that.
Yeah.
And that's just since we put the advertisements on, which was late in the game.
It was over the break.
It doesn't sound like much. It's $2, but for a podcast we never expected to bring in any money, it's a big deal. And Anchor is doing their best to try to support us. They're putting us on every platform they can find. They're helping us find sponsors and helping us get them into our podcast. And this is how we're gonna make more fun stuff for you guys.
They haven't yet tweeted us out from their main accounts, but I'm hoping with some of the things that we're putting together for later this year, that's actually a goal of mine. I want the Anchor.fm Twitter account to tweet out a link to our podcast. That's my goal.
You're the Twitter man. Go
Yeah,
for it.
Go for it. You manage the Twitter account.
Twitterman.
I tweet at them literally every time I see one come up. What's it take to get out on this thing? They don't respond. Maybe they blocked me.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm going to come at this from a different angle. I would like to thank Emergency for keeping me alive and mostly awake for the past 10 days and get me in good enough shape to be able to record this for you tonight. So thanks to Emergency, that little powder, little packet of
Have you just
powder.
been opening it and just shotgunning it?
Yeah, just snorting it.
My mucous membranes hurt already.
The smell of that crap. Oh.
And it is vitamin C, remember? So it's ascorbic acid.
It's acid.
I don't want that on my nose.
That's funny.
Yeah. No, I've been doing it the conventional way, just mixing it with water and all that kind of
butt-chugging.
stuff.
In a syringe. I went dark, you went...
Okay, yeah, darker. But yeah, thanks to Emergency for keeping me going here for the past week plus. And obviously, as my other co-host, as Andrew had said, thank you to the listeners. Even if we suck, you guys are always awesome. And we want to hear what you think. So we mentioned checkenginepodcast.com. We're also on the socials. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're really into what we're doing, and maybe you got a really big holiday check from someone, you got some spare change,
Got that bonus at work.
or the end of year bonus, we have a support page on Anchor, and we do have a Patreon page as well, patreon.com/checkenginepodcast. Anything that goes in there comes out as better content for you, like the new microphones we're recording with right now.
Heck yeah.
So thank you in advance for that. And also reviews, particularly good ones.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's
Go to iTunes or wherever else you can review us and just
Google or anywhere.
tell us what you think.
Google, iTunes, Facebook.
Facebook.
We do have one review on Facebook.
That's true.
Thank you.
From our contest winner,
Yeah.
actually,
that's
as
right.
well. So
Well, he won the contest, so his opinion is a little skewed.
yeah, but we will get him shouted out here once we get his stuff on the way. But
So, yeah. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We cannot wait to speak to you again. Welcome to season 2. Good night.